Continue. Well, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to all of you.
And to you, Roger.
And to you, Bruce.
Thank you. I
May you
feel.
be blessed and
Are
prosperous.
you all
And
prosperity theology on me today? May you live in abundance this day, this year.
I was trying to just, I think, give using platitude language, because some of the platitudes we
Platitudes.
have in the have a wonderful year. You go, yeah,
Here's to your best year ever.
right. Where we,
Well, for me, 2025 was a mixed bag year for sure.
let's
But
talk about your year.
but I processed the year, which not everyone does, as a hard year. So
Okay.
you have hard years and you have normal years and you have some really, really good years. This was a hard year. And there's a lot
You've
that,
had several of those hard
yeah.
years.
So I'm praying this year for my prayer is sort of a year of peace where there's, you know, because there's a lot of, yeah, there's good, and like I said, there's ups and downs. So we had our second grandchild, but then we had our 24-year-old friend that was living on the farm killed in an accident in August, and that affected Marlene and I more than we both thought it would. It was, because they were friends of our children, but they're also friends she was also a friend of ours. And then getting toward the end of the year, and I think so, it was, trying to get the cottage finished and wrapping all that up and the stress of that. And then we finally sold the Plainview house. For those of you who don't know, that's a rental property that we lived in for 16 years. But getting that thing ready to sell while you have renters in it was a nightmare.
Horrific.
Would rather have shards of glass in my eye than to go through that ever again. So it turned out to be one of the most stressful holidays I've ever had, and not enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like I was even thinking last night, I was listening to some Christmas music last night
And it
because
gave you to start twitching.
no, because we didn't get time to really enjoy Christmas. It was one of those seasons when we never got to enjoy the Christmas season. Like we didn't do fun things. We watched a few Christmas movies, but I can't explain it. It was just one of those. So I'm looking forward to a year of a little more peace.
And I was thinking, but I'm thinking as you're talking, okay, the year before that, both your parents died,
Hmm.
and there was that see we were going up often visiting. They were, and there were health issues.
Yeah.
Dad had his cancer diagnosis.
Oh yeah.
We go up for the doctors. So I'm just thinking, I'm not comparing the two, but
Well,
you've at least had two tough years
but
back to
for
back.
whatever reason, that didn't impact me. I still saw 2024 as a much more. Uh, well, but the end of the year was really a tough year. No, I guess I've had two tough years back to back. You're right.
I'm not trying to. Bruce leaves the Pastords totally
Totally depressed.
depressed.
I'm like the last 2 years have been
Wait,
super
but the
hard.
year before that, remember?
2023. 2023 was a good year. Am I right?
Wasn't that this whole septic tank thing? The whole
Yeah. Well, 2023 was a bad year.
it was awful.
The last year was 2022 when we bought the farm. Although that was tough because we bought it in March but didn't close in August, during which time interest rates went up 6%. So instead of getting a 3.5% rate, we got the 8.5% rate. And you're like, oh my God.
Because a handful of Southern Baptist churches didn't approve.
Yes. We had to get a sign off.
That was bizarre.
70 Baptist churches in the county because part of the farm had been willed to the Blount County Baptist Association. Okay, so let's
All
come
right.
back 2021. No, we're in the pandemic. The last good year of my life was 2019.
And this actually, we weren't intending as a good lead in into the song. The
No,
song for the day. It's actually
it's a
we
song
weren't we
we need
weren't
help.
planning to segue.
But that's a great segue. So if others of you out there have had 6 tough years in a row,
Let's just say,
really hard years,
let's just say the 2000s have been kind of bad.
the
Have been,
2020s,
you know what? This century has really been tough on us.
it's been difficult.
It's been a bad
I
one.
haven't had a good year since the Carter administration. That's not true. But no, I wonder if other people are feeling that same thing, like the pandemic and then post-pandemic and all the political stuff going on. And again, that does lead into the song.
Right.
Because the song is about, at some level, the world seems to be in chaos. So I need to know that God's out there. So
Right.
the song is Calling All Angels by Train,
Yep.
which is such a good
It's
song.
on my playlist. Yeah.
I like the vibe of the song, the like the beat to it, the way they do this little staggered
Hmm.
beat, and it really like that. But it's one of those songs where I think about my seeking friends that may not believe in God, but they're looking for him. It's that whole, he starts with, I need a sign to let me know you're here. I need
Right.
some kind of sign because all the signs are unclear in the atmosphere. Like I'm getting mixed signals, and on down here on Earth, it seems like it's really just not good. Because even has that
Right.
line about my TV set keeps it all from being
Being
clear,
right.
which I thought was funny. TV set, we don't even think about
You would
TV.
say social media now, it keeps
Yeah.
it all from being
Or
clear.
flat screen hung on the wall, which keeps it all from
Right.
being clear. Not a TV set. But yeah, and yeah, internet and all that kind of stuff. And it's like this. I don't. Hey, Did you check out when it was written,
I did.
produced?
Oh,
And sometimes you do that.
it
Church
might have been
people do that.
2003.
The world stage was like then.
It was in the horrific 2000s.
Okay, the
I
horrific
don't know if I'm
2000s.
thinking 2003. Um, but what in line with what you're saying, I think for even you said are seeking friends, for people that they're kind of wrestling with whether God's there, but angels a safe place to start. Where we kind of angels, the symbol of there's something out there that's intervening. There's something eternal, spiritual. Maybe I'm not ready to get able to get to God yet,
And
but
it's an entity that's connected to God.
yes,
Okay, so it's like ain't that's an
a
interesting way of putting
messenger.
it, a messenger.
Right. So I need an intermediary. And what's interesting, you think about even the Christmas story, the message of hope
Okay,
came
they're
from angels.
angels.
They were the ones, peace on earth. And also they came with a sign. So like he said, I need a sign, I need a reason, and I need what was the other thing he
I
said?
need hope. I need a hand to
I
build
need a
some
hand. I need a
help to
hand.
build
I
hope
need
and
a
strength.
reason. Yes.
And so he's like, I'm
And I need a
coming for
sign.
angels. And then he says, I won't give up if you won't give up. There's a part of that. So when I look at the song that could like pan out large scale like
Yeah.
narrative, I'm like, there's part of the song he seems to be calling on angels like in the spiritual realm, but then he seems also to be calling on angels in the human realm. Like I need you folks to be angels.
Yes.
I need to know. For me, the crux of the song was, I believe that God expresses Himself to mankind typically through other men, through other
Yep.
people, through other human beings, and
Right.
it's like this guy Roger, because of the way he lives his life or the things that he's doing, helps me know that God's real, that God loves me, that God cares. Because that's what a lot of people are just. I'll have people even in my office that are like, I just want to hear from God.
And if you think about what's fascinating there, the biblical picture of angel is they're they're servants and they're speakers. They have a
They're a messenger,
they're a
right?
messenger, and this is where
And they're also warriors. You think about some of the stuff in Daniel. Yeah, I
yes,
would have gotten here sooner, but I was in a little scrum with the Iranian king.
but the touching on that idea that an angel is a servant. So where you'll even have, I think now about the stories. I was in a terrible storm, then I had a flat. I'm at the side of the road, and I'm in all this trouble. But then someone stopped and helped, and then we talked. That was an angel. That was my angel. That was someone I was in
A
a terrible
messenger and a
bind,
servant. Yes.
messenger and a servant. This is some, and
And a
we're
sign
often
from
here,
God.
people say, I have hope for the world now. Or after that incident, someone's noticed, someone stepped up, and what it does do is, oh, it kind of renewed my hope in mankind, my hope in the future. Just one person making what I would say an angelic move. Serve
Yeah.
or a word of hope.
Yeah. Extending compassion to another human being. For some people, immediately it reinforces the reality that there is a God. That was even a thing in
Yep.
high school, and it used to terribly offend me. I thought it was I thought it was like sacrilegious. But something would happen that was unusual. And a person go, "Oh, there is a God." And I was like, I just thought that was the worst thing in the world. But I'm like, well, it's actually some good to that. In other words, when we see something good happen, it does build up a certain kind of hope. Maybe this, the world's not going to hell in a handbasket. Maybe there is a God who cares.
Right.
And when we extend compassion to someone else, when we reach out, when we become that hand that builds up hope inside of them, it's a sign from God. I saw something, and when you said, I'm like, I never thought about, okay, my role as an angel. If it's as simple as a messenger and a servant, we can all do that.
We can do that.
I mean, I can say, I love you. I care about you. Let me help you fix that tire. Because I've had moments where I've done that before. I see someone's radiator blowing up on the side of the road, and I'll stop and I'll help in some way.
It's huge.
But who knows what that did for them in terms of what they'd been praying for, or if they'd stopped praying, or wondering, does God care?
Right.
And in that moment, God sends a person
Mm-hmm.
that becomes their angel, and they may never see that person again, so they might actually think it wasn't anything. They've never seen that person before or since. But
And isn't that the way God planned to work?
mm-hmm.
In other words, even where that classic word, God and Moses are talking, and and Moses and God says, I've heard your cry, I've come to help. Now I'm sending you. In other words,
Yeah.
And that comedian who would kind of, well, I thought you said you were going to do it. I thought you were.
You've heard the cry. You're answering the cry.
Right.
You've come to help.
And now I've got to do something.
And now I want you to do it.
But isn't this like
you preached that before, haven't you? That's Darren.
We will look at even that thing. Well, we want God to fix and rescue things and people.
Yeah.
And God says that's not the plan. I care for the poor through you. Yes, you read that right in the Bible about I have compassion towards the poor. I come to rescue those and answer their cry. But you missed the part. Here's how I do it. I do it through screw-ups like you, scared people like yourself. And this is not just an aberration. In that sense of the term, we are called to be that spokesman, that angel. We're called to be servants. We're called to be ambassadors, speak on behalf.
Yeah.
God wants to be reconciled to you. There's hope. There's
even the word apostle in its strictest sense means a person with a message.
Yep.
So an apostle is someone who's been given a message,
and sent.
Message. Mm-hmm.
And sent.
Yes.
Sent with a message. Well, when we think of that's angel. Well, how often did an angel come sent from God with a message?
Yeah.
Angels are just doing a limited amount of honestly what we're called to do. We are called to be ambassadors, angels, spokesmen, servants on behalf of the
Most High God. So it's interesting. I hadn't planned to talk about this this morning, but it just came to me. So my word,
this is not scripted. I promise you. We have no idea.
You've probably picked up on that. I'm just throwing it out there, Raj. These are smart people that, they're listening to our podcast.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Average intelligence
folks
listening right now.
Oh, we just went down from 2 viewers to 1, I see.
Oh my gosh, terrible. I don't know. No, but my word for the year is speak. And I was like, because I really feel like God's saying, all right, I want you to.
That's the word, huh?
I want you to communicate this year. And I think that's through writing and through speaking. I mean, verbal speak. But I realized as we're talking, I'm like, oh, that's part of my role as an angel or apostle. I've been given a message. I've been sent, and I'm realizing now, yeah, we are, whether we do it particularly well or not, we are sort of the voice of God in culture in our world. So if God gives you a word to speak, it's important that you speak it. Like you're right, I don't think that people are going to listen to it. Well, it's funny that when God told Jeremiah, I'm going to give you a word to speak, and he's like, okay, I'm going to do it because it's burning in my heart. And he said, now they're not going to listen to you.
Right.
Come again?
Right.
I thought you wanted me to speak and lead the nation to repentance. He's like, no, I just want you to speak.
Right.
I didn't say it was going to end up in repentance. In fact, they're not going to repent.
You remember on that same note, Moses said, what if they don't listen?
Yeah.
What if they don't? No, that's not what, that's not your.
And what is that to you?
Right. What's that? That's not,
your job is to speak. not to manage the outcomes. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna speak, and it'll be fun to see this, how God uses that this year. But that came to me pretty clearly at the end of last year, and it's like because I mean, we're doing some shifts this year, turning 62 next month, which is crazy, which means Social Security benefits and other things. But I'm looking forward to having more room, space in my life to speak.
Well, and I've noticed, and I love it. You put a couple of
Mhm.
posts out there.
Working on another one this week. Single word called kindness.
Um, oh, everyone's got that down. That won't be
Oh,
helpful at all.
we're not struggling with
Yeah,
kindness.
kindness is not an issue.
Shut your fat
Uh,
mouth, Roger. You're dumb.
now we're getting back to Train where he says,
Sorry.
no, what is that one point where he says, everyone's words are all
It makes the world shake by the things that are being said.
by
That
the
was the
things that are
point.
being said. Yes, the things are being said.
And I immediately thought even of world leaders, because you're right, it was written in
Shake.
2003 or came out in
Oh,
2003.
okay.
So I'm like, yeah, there'd be all sorts of things on the political landscape. That was the Iraq War, 2001. All
Mhm.
right. So, and then, yeah,
Right.
2000, yeah, right after that, you had that massive, I think it was the tsunami in Eastern Asia.
And maybe what you keep getting at is the world doesn't really change. It's always being shaken.
Right.
This song will be timeless. This song will still feel current 50 years from now.
The Christmas song that was written 200 years ago, there is no peace on earth, I said.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same thing.
Right.
It's the human condition of
We,
every generation has felt like we've got it bad.
right. We were listening to a song that says, oh my goodness, this sounds prophetic, as if, no, they're just singing out of your list right now. This is my time. How could they have seen exactly what we're going through? God saying,
Because it's been going on since sin
right,
entered the world.
right. There was this point in Eden where things took a turn,
Yep.
and this chaos and the world shaken.
The train has been off the track ever since. Train
No,
analogy.
the TV was not there yet, but there were other places where people were not clear through whatever. Anyway, the scroll was not clear. I don't know.
Well, it goes back to Solomon, who said, "There's nothing new under the sun." I'm like, that is true. And you're the one that said this, but I've quoted it a lot, and people think I'm really smart as a
Oh,
result.
excellent. Tell me
When
what it
people
is.
say, I think our world's more divided than it's ever been, and I'm like, well, there was this thing called the Civil War. I think we were slightly more divided then because we were shooting at each other, and no war has taken more
lot of people
American
died.
lives, 600,000 by far, like 3 times as many as like World War II in terms of American lives, because
You're saying
Americans are shooting at Americans
we've killed many more of our own.
than any other country has done.
Oh, that's so
I hadn't thought that, but you're right. I mean, that's what it amounts to.
right.
When you have a civil war, it's all the citizens of that country that those are the only casualties you're going to have. They're all, in that sense, one-sided. But that gave me some hope
Yeah.
when you said that, because I'm like, oh yeah, we're not shooting at each other yet. We're using verbal volleys all the time,
Right.
which is part of what I want to help mitigate in this season. Like, I want to help people talk in a way that people can actually hear each other and listen and be curious. Doesn't mean you have to wholeheartedly agree with anything that that person is saying, but can we create space for learning? Because if I don't listen, guess what? I never learn. And we've talked about that ad nauseum before, but I realized that part of the word that I think God's given me to speak this year is we need to bring that message of undivided to a larger audience, which is even what I experienced with our brother David was so beautiful. One of my best days last year was the three of us went to David's house to build a barnuminium, and it was so much fun. We laughed so much. We had such a good time. But theologically, all three of us are in very different spaces. And yet we love each other and we laugh together, and it doesn't keep us from experiencing community and enjoying each other. I mean, richly enjoying each other. And I'm like, okay, that needs to be demonstrated more and more and more in culture, where people can say, I don't have to write you off, because we almost feel like we have this moral obligation, like God wants me to
Right.
write this person off
Well, the culture
because God's more concerned about right. And I'm like,
yeah.
no, Jesus seems to be more concerned about love, and people will know that you're my disciples because you love and your community. And he did say they'll know you're Christians by your agreement on things. or your correct theology or your
Right.
or the right political ideology. He said they're going to know by demonstrated love.
Right.
Demonstrated love. That's how people will know you're my followers.
And here's where, if I think about the voice of the angels, if I think about our role as spokespeople, you're blurring out when you.
Oh, sorry.
No, when you
I go off screen.
Well, it's like when you go back so far, you actually
it takes my head out.
we lose your voice.
I'm back.
That just as important, or maybe more important, that the words that we're saying are how we're saying them.
Yeah.
So again, that phrase, give people a reason for your hope, very significant, but do this with gentleness and respect. That's part of the message. The ambassador of Jesus, and this is where what you're talking about is how we talk to people, even where we may be right and they're wrong, where how you're talking about it, how you're speaking, this gentleness and respect can be heard. It sets a different kind of tone. Part of the reason people are feeling so much deep chaos, there's very little gentleness and very little respect in the language. You look at the posts,
right?
You look at, I literally this week, and I say this because it highlights, I had somebody private message me, and they were just saying, I so appreciate how you say certain things. Mm-hmm. It's the graciousness, it's the tone. You might enter into something controversial. You might enter, it's not that I always do that or that I'm always great with that, but this has been the press of God, gentleness and respect. Say a thing, but you're not trying to win something. You're not trying to win an argument. You're not trying to prove something. You're not trying to look superior. In my best moments, I'm not. You're actually trying to win an audience or trying to create a conversation. You don't create conversations by harsh and rude.
Okay, and the more dogmatic you are, the more it quells conversation. In other words,
defensive change.
It's the whole chapter that was, you're talking so loud I can't hear you. And that's the blog post I'll do called Gentleness. But it's that whole idea of the more dogmatic you are, it's almost like we feel like if we raise our voice and say it stronger, now that's going to convince the person. Well, it actually just makes their offenses go higher and higher. And it's like the blog post this week, kindness. It's just I always put a verse at the top of it. The verse is going to be, it's the kindness of God that leads you to repentance. I'm going to talk about repentance and changing someone's mind. And I think about, if we want to change someone's mind on a cultural issue, on a theological issue, on a political issue, your ally is kindness.
Yes.
Not mean, snarky. Like,
right.
When I see mean and snarky posts, I'm like on Facebook, political or theological or whatever else, I'm like, you realize you're not convincing anyone in a different space than you are.
No, you're actually doing the opposite.
Entrenching people that are there and creating a space where no one can learn. Whereas if you offer up something with kindness, with gentleness and respect, guess what? People can interact with that. And then when they interact, even if they come across maybe really hard, you can just keep.
Yeah, hold back the snark. Don't respond in kind.
Hey, thanks for sharing. Let me clarify some things, and then let's talk more about this. But I want to keep doing that. And it is that thing where I feel like it's something we have to model in culture, not just talk about.
Yep.
So people have to see it. They have to read, because I've had people do a similar thing with blog posts that I've done, or even social media posts, and they're like, I just love the way you said that. Because I'm trying to be careful. I'm not trying to disenfranchise either side or strengthen either side.
Yep.
And often there's more.
I'm trying to open a conversation between both sides.
Where both sides can learn. Including me.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Because then when people do respond, I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. That's a great word. I remember one blog post, one person brought something to the table. I'm like, I've never thought about that. That's a great point.
Exactly. And that starts, and this is where gentleness and respect starts with, I could be wrong. I have things to learn. These people aren't the enemies. People disagree with me, aren't enemies. They could be a needed teacher in a place. So I've got to keep that.
Be actually an ally.
Right.
That's the whole thing of why I'm like, if you want someone to change their mind, kindness is your best friend.
Yep.
So if think about it, think about my marriage to Marlena. When I come at her with meanness or snarkiness.
How's that gone, Bruce?
Not good. It certainly doesn't change her mind.
Right.
In fact, it reinforces what she already believes about me. He's a jerk.
And be honest, when I'm that way, if I'm snarky or whatever, it's reflecting. I have a little bit of bigger view of me. When I can talk, when I start talking
Yes.
down to people
Simply
like
proves
they're
that
imbeciles,
I am a jerk.
right?
I mean, because that's often the term we'll use about somebody who's arrogant or that's who's talking down to us. Man, what a jerk. I'm
Right.
like, but I've been that guy. So
There's another word that begins with an A.
yeah, there is that.
Which,
But but that's the space where, getting back to the song, everyone has the opportunity to be an angel. And when we do, when we speak up, when we serve, when we give a hand, it does build hope in others, and it does create that sense that there is a God. And I didn't think God cared, but here I am stuck on the side of the road with three kids, and I don't know what's kind of, and someone stops and says,
yeah,
let me help you. Let me get your car to this place. I think we can get it fixed. Let's, whatever that is, it's the whole, what we call the Good Samaritan story. He didn't just help in that moment, but then he got him, put him on his donkey, and he took him to the inn. He's like, take care. There was this longer term solution that he was providing. But man, you think about the hope that that creates in another person,
yeah.
which is good.
So it's both the message gives hope and how we say it gives hope. I think what I want to be for people, even if someone says, and this is I think the beauty of when Christians are at their best, is one can say, I don't agree with what you just said, but I'd like to be the kind of person who said it the way you said it.
Yeah.
Where people say, where someone looks and say, even where people could look at Jesus and I don't agree with that, but he's winsome. The way he said that, I felt heard. I felt I want to be that kind of person. So someone may walk away and say, I'm not ready to embrace that idea yet, but boy, I would like to be that kind of, even people like who, no, I tend to be a little harsh. I tend to be kind of, but there's something about when someone comes at, well, there's something that's compelling about that. I would like to be like that. Anyway, I think that's part of the hope is that because I think people are losing hope that we can ever again have gentle, respectful conversations and be heard and listened to and valued. Like I think there's just a sense that's gone. And but when they see it, when an angel shows up, when one of us with that gentleness and respect shows up, wait. There is hope. There's hope that it can be different.
And I just thought this is, we're talking like even you the word speak for the year, but part of that is it's a way of speaking. Even when you think about a person listening for God in the earthquake, in the loud, in the firestorm, in the tornado, but he wasn't there. He wasn't there. But then the soft, has it the
Still small voice
small
with the King James
voice.
Version
Yeah, the
said, yeah,
small voice, almost a whisper.
yeah,
They got his attention.
right.
Now think about that in terms of what is impactful to people.
Not the storm,
Not the storm, not the firestorm,
not the firestorm,
not the earthquake,
right.
not the tornado.
We're good with those.
A lot of those, but it's the still small voice
I like
that
that.
makes a difference.
I like that.
Because there's both kindness in that, there's gentleness in that, there's respect in that. You can't talk down to someone with gentleness and respect.
Well, and yes,
because they're going to pick up on it immediately.
because it reflects you don't respect. When I'm talking down, when I'm talking like someone's an imbecile or they're just dumb or they're not as moral as I am, they're not as right. Well, yeah, no respect's gonna if I believe
it's
that
as obvious as Napoleon Dynamite. Idiot. Because that's what they're and your chance of changing their mind is nil.
right.
Not going to happen.
No.
And we've talked about it many times in the podcast because it came to me during the middle of the podcast. But I'm like, I realized the only way that I learn, typically, is when I listen to someone who I think is wrong about something. I'm like, but that can't be. Okay, but tell me more just in case. And the more I listen, I'm like, right. I think I've been wrong about that. or at the very least, my perspective has been very limited. It's been
Right.
limited to this my story. That's the other thing I've been thinking about recently. This whole thing of we all interpret life through our own experience, through our story. We would love to
We
say
can't
that we
help it.
don't. We would love to say that we're entirely
Nobody
objective.
escaped.
We're
Yeah,
just not.
we can't be.
So when I hear someone else's story that's different from mine, I'm like, no, you're just processing it wrong. No, their experience was different. I mean, it's
Right.
just a whole. What I was thinking this week about how we, the only way to really understand what another person experiences or why they do certain things different than you would is if you walked a mile in their shoes or you spent time in their shoes. There's no way to understand. But I was thinking about my black brothers that have a very different experience, particularly the black male experience versus
Hmm.
my experience. It's just totally different. I didn't live life feeling like a bit of an outsider or possibly in trouble, or I've got to work overtly to make sure people know I'm
Right.
not trouble, that I'm not
You're
dangerous.
working against a narrative that's already, yes.
Yeah, it's like when Toya talked about Melvin going to the bank and he would put a suit on, and she's like, "Why are you putting a suit on?" He's like, "Well, I can't go in there with a hoodie or sunglasses or." He said, "I've got to do everything to present in such a way that people don't feel I'm a threat." And I'm like, I've never even had to think about that.
Right.
That's never been in my mind. I need to go into a setting and make sure people know I'm not a danger or a threat. And I'm like, that would feel super vulnerable every time you went anywhere.
Yeah.
Like how people are going to anyway. So part of the being an angel is also listening to the point of understanding another person's journey, recognizing that their not just their narrative is different, but their story is different.
Yep.
Their experience is different. And when we listen to that, I've learned it broadens my perspective, gives me a much better sense of the big picture on this thing. Because I may have always experienced it this way or understood it this way. But then when I listen to someone else, anybody know how we got lost on
Well,
all that.
here's
But
the
that's
beauty. I will, while we're there, because that is the beauty of that is when you're long listening, it not only helps you understand better, the person is much more likely to consider where they could be wrong. So you're hearing, the
yes.
more you're learning, there's a better chance, long listening, there's a better chance you'll learn. But people, when they've been heard, tell me more, like you're famous for saying, which is great, and you're asking more and more questions. This creates an environment where people are more open to considering maybe there's something you're saying that's helpful. People are much, much more ready to hear something you have to say when there's been long, interested, curious, compassionate listening. So, this word that actually what's leading into maybe words with gentleness and respect is long listening.
Yeah.
It was just a fascinating idea about um, that piece of that piece of speaking that starts with respectful, humble listening.
Yeah. And it's a little counterintuitive because if you think about it. But
I need to get it out there.
maybe before we speak, we need to do some long listening.
Quick to hear,
Slow
slow
to
to
speak.
speak. Then everyone will be slow to
Think
anger.
about that. All right, so that's a good word for me going into this year because he doesn't say don't speak. He just says be slow to speak. And he says listen first. Think about that. That's even the order in that verse. Listen first. Slow to speak, which means I'm going to ask curious questions. I'm going to instead of just jumping right in, and if I keep listening, because the temptation for me is to work on my rebuttal while I'm not listening. So
Mhm.
I hear one or two things that I disagree with. I'm
Right.
looking for those points of disagreement. Then I'm working on
Here
my
we go.
rebuttal. It's the debater in
Can
you
you
and
hurry
I
it up?
both.
Can you hurry it up? Because I've got a really good line
I'm
here.
sure you got some dribble you want to share more on that same topic, but if we're long listening, that's a great way of putting it. Long listening. I wonder if that was because I thought of the word long suffering when you said it. Being willing to suffer with, because I may be in a different space and it may be hard to listen. But if I'll keep listening and keep listening, my perspective is greater. And I may not speak anything near what I thought I would speak when I do speak.
It goes. You said it's counterintuitive. What intuits, what sounds right, is the more I say, the more likely I can change someone's thinking, and it's just the opposite.
It's the opposite.
The more I listen,
I need to write that down.
I'm just saying, you listen along, you can say one line after that, and it carries far more weight than if you listened for 10 seconds and then talked for an hour. More words don't have more impact. More listening has more impact.
Yeah, think about that. if you just spent several minutes listening to someone, really listening to someone, and then you've been gentle and respectful and asking
Right.
curious questions, they might even go, well, so what do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I'm wondering. That was great. Yeah, what it's just it is
Right.
counterintuitive because you're right. I tend to think the longer I speak, the more I speak, the more words I throw at this thing, the more convincing it's going to be. That
Right.
may not be the case at all.
Well, so this is where I think the slow to speak, where I'm and quick to listen, because it is tied with that.
Thank you.
The
Thank
re
goodness he didn't say slow speaking.
right, the reason because
Because
Moses said I'm slow of
I
speech.
can't do that.
But it literally says quick to hear, quick to listen. Like how many messages did we hear on that? In a culture we were very quick to speak, but how about a sermon on the lead in quick to hear, quick to listen, slow to speak. And again, the beauty is once I've listened, any like long listening, you said it a second ago, I know much more about what to say. I was getting ready to say this and this and this. I had no idea. Now that I've listened, I know actually what their real concern is, or what the real roadblock is, or what the real pain is,
Yeah.
what the real loss is. So now I can speak a more fitting word, as the Proverbs say. I have a
Yeah.
more fitting word. I think there's actually one of the Proverbs that's the fool rushes in to share his opinions.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the idea of it.
right. Yeah, anyway,
And the older I get, and this is the last thing I'll say on it, but the older I get, I realize it's not important that I have an opinion on everything. Partly because
we do.
many of my opinions aren't informed.
Right.
They're not informed. They're ideas that I have. There's ways that I've interpreted things, whether that's in the news or what. But I realize I don't have an opinion, so it's okay to say I don't know. I
Right.
mean, you tell me more about that because I don't.
Rather than share an opinion that actually could be deeply flawed and dangerous.
Yeah, or create more animosity.
Right.
I'm like, there's certain things I don't have to have an opinion on because I don't know enough about that subject to give an informed opinion on it. So I'm like, I don't have to have an
That's a
opinion
good
on it.
word.
But I
Yeah.
do think that in the culture we grew up with, you felt like you had to have the answer and it needed to be the right answer. And if you didn't have the right answer, you'd go to the Bible to find something that already.
If you didn't have an answer, you were sending the message there wasn't an answer.
Good
Well,
point.
that's foolish. Right. In other words, the idea that if I'm not godlike and I don't have an answer, this person's going to walk away and thinking there's not. If I look flummoxed, or if I just say I don't know,
Lummox.
they're going to say it's a great
It's a
word.
great word. It's like scrum. I threw that in earlier. It's a great word.
Flummoxed is better.
I don't know. It's longer. Scrum short.
Those X's in there, I like the flummoxed.
Is it a double X? Flummoxed.
Oh, it's probably one X. Double M.
Double M.
Yeah,
Flummoxed.
flum.
Now I have to look up flum. I have to go look up flum.
We should finish on flum.
We're gonna finish on flum. Next week, Roger's gonna pick the song. I picked this one this week, late last night, and informed Roger of that. So we had lots of time to do
I had
it.
actually been thinking of another train song, which we should do some point. I'm not saying next week, but
We
that the
might.
song bruises.
It could
Anyway,
happen.
um,
So I hope this has been a good start to your year. Remember, you're an angel. And in the immortalized words of Dan in real life, this corn is like an angel. Marley and I watched that last week.
that's a movie I can
This-
definitely rewatch.
This corn is like an angel.
This corn is an angel.
If you don't watch Dan in real life, it's definitely worth seeing.
If you have watched it, watch it again.
Until next week or next month, next quarter.
Hopefully this year we'll show back up.
We're a little uncertain. We love you. We love you so
right.
much. We'll see you later. Flummoxed.